In this video today, I'm going to take a look at how fire combat works, or at least part of how fire combat works in the Civil War Brigade series. And I guess to do this, I'm going to show some of the charts from the game. But essentially, because of the scale, a brigade can't really bring all of its firepower to bear when it is in a single hex. So it's presumably it's so big that the men would be on top of each other. So presumably some of the men are in the front where they're firing and others are a little bit to the rear where they're not firing. So the game has a mechanism to handle all of this. So I'll show you a little bit about it. So this is a roster sheet for the Union Army of the Tennessee. And if you've been following the replay, you've seen one of the brigades that is in McClernand's 1st Division. It's Marsh's brigade. It's the 2-1 brigade, and you can see it listed here. It's the 2nd unit listed on this roster. It says unit ID 2-1, Brigade Marsh, morale level B. And notice this part, fire levels. You see it's a double A. So in this system, the largest unit, if you look down and see Veatch, for example, in Hurlbut's 4th Division, is a triple A. That's the largest brigade that you can have. And you'll notice, the number of check boxes he has because of his size. So in this game, only an A-level firepower can fire out of a hex. So if you have a unit like Marsh's, it's double A, he can only fire, basically half of the brigade is able to fire out of a hex. The other half's just unusable until, unless you move them around. So I'll show you how this works. We'll start by taking a look at the fire tables that converts the letter into a number. If you look at this next chart, you can see a chart titled Fire Point Determination Chart, small arms. And so this is basically the type of fire that brigades use. And you can see there are 3 columns there under the range. Close combat, which means they're in the same hex. I don't use a lot of close combat unless I'm sure that the enemy's pretty much done. But if you're adjacent, you use the 1 column. If you're 2 hexes away, if there's a space in between you, then you use the 2 column. So you'll notice the highest fire level that you can get, and we're going to just assume units are adjacent, is A. So that's 4 points. And if you look at the next table down, the fire combat table, you can find a column that's called 3 to 4. And that's the column you roll the 2d6 on. So if you have a double A unit, like what we were looking at with Marsh's brigade, he can, even though he's double A, he can only fire 4 fire points out of the hex. Now, if you look back at a picture from last turn, from an earlier turn, you can see that I have Marsh with 2 extended lines. You see those extended line markers on either side of Marsh with an arrow pointing back to him, indicating that this is part of his brigade that are in adjacent hexes. Well, because Marsh is a double A unit, he has a whole A level worth of firepower to move from the rear to his flank so that it can fire too. Because he only has 1 A, he can really only extend 1 line and keep it at an A level. In the picture, you can see I have 2 extended lines, which means I've had to take that extra A level of firepower and divide it into 2, which makes it into a B. So looking at that picture, if assuming the units are all adjacent to who they're firing at, Marsh's mother brigade there in the middle would be able to fire on the 4 column, but the extended line that's facing Stevens' brigade would only be able to fire at the 2 column because it's a B level because I had to divide that extra A into 2 because I decided to extend 2 lines. And then you could see on Marsh's left flank, he has another extended line, and that also has a B marker under it. You probably can see, if you look closely at the picture, that there's a yellow colored marker under both of those extended lines. It's a B marker to remind me that they're not firing at 4 fire points, but at 2 if they're adjacent. So that's basically how fire combat works. To extend lines, it does cost movement points. So, if a unit moved its full movement allowance, it wouldn't be able to extend line until next turn and use its movement points to do that. And the other thing to remember is, while extended lines makes it really easy to be able to use your full firepower in a combat phase, the disadvantage is that it gives the enemy 3 different targets now to target your brigade, as in Marsh's brigade here. So if an extended line gets a hit, then that's marked off the roster sheet. It's 1 brigade, even though it's got extended lines. So that's basically how this works. I hope this is helpful to you, and thank you for watching, and have a great day.